bronche, that's how we say brunch.
Here's to the ladies who say basic with their lunch.
You want that bochinche?
Páquete con pinche, you hear what they said?
Not too busy, glasses clinking.
Aquí en esta mesa se respeta como ñón.
Si la copa está llena, yo te doy la bendición.
So what if we get ratchet?
We from the Bronx.
That's it.
Don't get it twisted.
We be going to Manhattan. Be a
Be
queen.
a boss.
Ladies who brunch and poppin' off.
Hey, we pop and pop it off. We pop.
All right. The episode's about to start.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Ladies Who Bronche. I am Julissa.
What's good, everybody? This is Skittles.
And this week, I am so excited to finally have these
Yes.
lovely, badass bitches. I hope you know I mean that in the most loving
Respectful way.
Honored, darling. Honored.
Yes.
non-corporate girls. Who the fuck are you?
Whoop, whoop.
Ayana. So my name is Ayana, and I'm the co-founder of Non-Corporate Girls.
And I'm Delilah. I'm the co-founder of Non-Corporate Girls.
And we are literally where the 9 to 5 and the 5 to 9 meet. And what does that mean? Everything in the middle.
Basically, like, we run the gamut.
Yes.
Mm.
So tell us a little bit about how you guys came up with the concept of non-corporate girls.
Yeah, this story is really good. So it happened.
So once upon a time at Bandcamp. So basically, me and Delilah were working in toxic environments a couple of years back, and we all can relate to that, right?
Yes.
And we would be on GChat, each other's accountability partners, and we would just be venting all the time. And we were like, damn, like somebody else has to relate to this than us. Like, we can't be the only ones talking about the same thing.
Right.
So we went to an event one day, and a girl was like, hey, what do y'all do? And you know, it's always a spiel when you're slashy. I do 80 things under
It's
the
like,
sun.
what you want to do today?
Right. So I kind of joked. It was like, oh, you know, we're kind of like the non-corporate girls. And we were like, oh, my God, we've never used that. And then she was like, I've never heard that. And then the next day, we were like, let's start a podcast. And that's what we did.
And the
Lit.
podcast.
And so where does your friendship come, how did you guys meet?
You can tell us.
So we met like 10 years ago now doing Fashion Week. So we were basically working for a show. And then Ayana, like something happened backstage. And it's like that type of moment where only the people of color get it. You get what I mean? So we connected and locked eyes. Type of thing. Like it was
Y'all had a sister moment.
yes,
Y'all had a
it's just a moment. And it was just like the beginning.
Yes.
Up until like and beyond.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about each of you. So outside of non-corporate girls, give us a little bit of insight of like your backgrounds, the things that you considered your like experts in, things you love.
Yeah, so growing up, I was always told I'm going to be a lawyer because I was very like, I know how to argue a case. I was on the debate team in elementary school. Like, I know how to argue my point. And I was very outspoken since very young. Like, I always had great grades, and the complaint at report card day was, but she talks too much.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And like, look at where it brought me now.
Yes, I love that. I relate to that so hard.
So yeah, that's really like what my upbringing consisted of. Like academics was very important. Go to school, college was like what is gonna be next. Like there was
Right.
no option for that. But I was like chill, like got in trouble here and there, but
Right.
always.
Did a little trouble.
You know. Yes. I love that. Yes.
Like me, I could never. Like you would never think it was me.
Right.
But on the low, it
It
might have
was
been.
you.
So like that was kind of like my upbringing, and then then going into my professional role, I guess that talking worked in my favor because then I went into PR. Graduating, you know what I'm saying? You need communication skills, so all that talking like brought me like they say when you're young, you kind of weed out what it is that you're gonna become later in life.
Yes.
Certain characteristics.
Yes.
Those are mine.
I love that.
And beauty.
Oh, of course. Well, I'm a skincare aficionado.
Yes.
Switch your skin looks beautiful.
Yeah, you took in some, dermatology appointment.
We need to call the doctor in.
Listen.
Yes, I've always I grew up having just acne and stuff. Like my mom doesn't have the best skin, and so being a teenager, when it comes to your confidence
And your
levels
skin
and
is
all
so
that,
important.
It is. So I used to pile on makeup to hide it, and then as I educated myself on skincare because makeup wasn't helping it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like understanding that and just seeing that like I am not my makeup.
Right.
So then that kind of took my trajectory into like the work that I became so passionate about. Which
Yes.
is the industry.
Amazing. Amazing. What about you, Miss Ayana?
Okay, so
The yin to my yang, cause now let's.
so she's beauty, I'm fashion, which
Yes.
is kind of how we met behind like Fashion Week and all that stuff. So just see real quick. I grew up and I was always a straight A student, Arista, National Honor Society, all that jazz. I got into a little trouble here and there. And basically, my mom told me in 9th grade that if I didn't want to go to Panama, I had to go to Catholic
Okay.
school. She was like, Panama Catholic school. I was like, I don't speak Spanish.
That is
But
so
pause. I was
drastic.
but-
I have a very similar story. My
But
mom.
they didn't do that with Puerto Ricans because Dominicans stay sending their kids to DR.
Every
They'd be like,
summer.
"Oh, you know how to
They, like,
act?
shipping
Go
you
suck
out.
a little bit."
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Damn. That was my gift. That was my birthday gift. was going
To go to Puerto Rico, ooh, not DR
Yeah.
was punishment. They were like, "Oh, you went to high school in DR?"
Some kids came back worse than when they.
Then when they left, all of them.
That,
Yeah.
right. So, I don't speak Spanish.
Oh,
Don't judge me, but I
damn.
don't.
They would have
I
caught you
know.
out there slipping.
Right. So I went to Catholic school, and then that really was helpful for me because then it like helped me like realize like, oh, I wanted to like be in communication or fashion, and what does that look like? And I really wanted to get away from my mom, so I ended up going to a school upstate, and I ended up majoring in communication when I really wanted to go to FIT. But y'all know how that go. But whatever. Went upstate.
But whatever.
graduated, and came out and just got heavy into communications and advertising for most of my life, and then fashion kept kind of coming in. So I also was a freelancer working like fashion, contributing, being a personal shopper, working back as a stylist and all that jazz. And then I decided I really wanted to get into marketing, and then my career kind of took off into like fashion, beauty, marketing, and that's kind of the space I've been in for a really long time.
That's awesome.
So lit.
Yes.
Yes. So when you guys are out to brunch together, what is your favorite beverage that you're going to be drinking?
A Bellini. I like Bellini. So it's like champagne with like peach nectar.
Yes. Juan loves a peach one. That he
Yes,
makes.
I have a peach recipe that I like, and I'm always saying it to anybody who tells that loves a Bellini. You gotta get yourself some prosecco, a little thing of New Amsterdam peach vodka, and some peach juice. Do the whole bottle of prosecco, the whole bottle of vodka, and a splash of peach.
Nice.
It'll
And
get
they
you
have
lit.
Goya peach.
It's so good. You gotta
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, I'm gonna try that.
try that out.
Yes.
That's delish.
What about you? What you be drinking?
So I like mimosas, but I like strawberry or mango, like not just a regular
Ooh,
mimosa.
yes,
Yes.
exotic, which we failed at today.
No.
Because I was like, well, I don't see no orange juice, but ooh, apple juice. It could be like a cider. And Ayana was like, yeah,
I don't like apple juice.
Apple cider mimosa.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
essentially.
So when you guys are at brunch, what is your go-to meal? Like, what is your go-to plate?
Well, depending where I go, because I just feel like you can't fuck up a steak and eggs. That was like my fries.
Ooh,
Lit.
steak and eggs.
You gotta try. I think I'm shaking hands and I'm like, Calle Ocho has this steak. It's like steak and eggs, but with rice. So good. And it's yo, cause they closed, but apparently they reopened.
Yeah, inside the hotel place.
So
Yeah.
they closed that one on 86,
After updating the other location.
and now they're on 105.
Okay, I haven't
Oh, I
been.
didn't know
yeah.
that. Okay.
Yeah. So they just reopened again, but
I gotta try that. I know.
I like anything with eggs, like omelets, etc. I'm not an eggs Benedict person, but I love eggs.
Eggs Benedict, I think, is a hard one for me now. Something I used to like the runny egg thing, and lately it's making me like nauseous.
No,
like it
no,
reminds
no.
me of other things.
Like I want it to be cooked.
Yeah.
I'm good on wet. Like I don't like anything like wet.
Like texturized, right? It's
I
just
don't
like
know if it's textured, but just things that are like wet, like that
Also,
oversaturate. Like I
And
don't know.
wet and then not well seasoned. It's not like it's like a flavorful
Yeah.
like thing that's oozing out. It's
Mhm.
very
It's just like blah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's bland.
sense.
Yeah, but egg stuff. I'm with you with eggs. I love eggs. Like when we went vegan, that was the only thing I missed dearly was eating eggs.
Wait, so funny story. I didn't eat eggs my whole life up until like 4 years ago, maybe 3 years ago.
How?
She was
I-
missing
Make it
out.
And like you don't understand. Like I would go out with friends to brunch, and anytime I got steak and eggs, which was one of my favorite things, I would give someone the eggs for most of my life.
So she would have steak and eggs, but just eat steak.
And potatoes, like
Right, and the home fries, right?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wait,
I mean,
but
she said
how?
she didn't like.
I
apples.
think my taste buds changed. Like maybe 3-4 years ago, I did an event and I had double eggs there, and I tried it. And I was like, oh, this is kind of good. And then I just started eating eggs. It was random, and now I like love eggs. Like everyone in my life is, what is happening with you?
Yeah, no, eggs are.
Well, when I was young, I didn't like pancakes. You could not give me a pancake.
Wait,
out.
what?
Yeah.
They're
Wow.
so fluffy.
I didn't eat pancakes or avocado. And that was like,
So y'all.
Avocado, I understand. When I was younger, I didn't really get like why we put this cold
In everything.
on our rice and we
Everything.
Like, I didn't
Now
like
it's
that
like
consistency,
same.
but now I love it.
Yes.
So that I can relate to. When
yeah,
you
but the
taste those
pancakes
things.
was weird. Like I.
But now you love pancakes.
No, not love
Oh.
even. Like I could go without it. But I can do it, but like I
Do
don't.
you
I won't
prefer
order it.
waffle? Do you prefer French
No,
toast?
none of them.
She's a savory girl. She is just a straight up.
She's like the
savory girl.
epitome,
Those
yeah.
things, I read it. I read it. I'm here for it. So tell us then, what is your favorite bochinche topic to talk about over a meal?
Over a meal. I don't know. Like I don't know why we're as old as we are, and it's like who's pregnant. It's like
But
you
let
know
me tell
the
you,
people out here
be
be
getting
getting
pregnant
pregnant.
now.
March is coming, and I have 2 baby showers in the same
It's
day.
like, ay, tú no sabes quién está preñada. Like,
yeah.
you know what I mean? It's
People
just
are
like,
really
what?
It's a
having
lot.
babies now. I had this epiphany, and that's why even today I had posted about how like I woke up nauseous before my workout, but I wasn't gonna let me stop me from working out. And then I had to put afterwards, oh, and by the way, I'm not pregnant, because immediately like something in my ear was like, everybody's gonna be like, oh, she pregnant. No, this oven is not functional right now. Thank
But
you.
it's just
No
like
babies.
it's so crazy because you could be however years old and it's always like a thing. Like you know, it's not in a celebratory way. It's like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, she's pregnant. Like, what does that life mean like now? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just so weird. Like,
Yes.
that's how it is. It's gossipy.
babies. What about you?
I don't know. I think probably like pop culture. It's like a mix between pop culture and then like self-help stuff, like finding that work-life balance, or like being, you know, like with my single friend, like just, you know, about women or yourself, or pop culture.
Pop culture. Tell us a little bit about what it was like going out to eat when you guys were growing up.
Oh my god, it was like a fabulous thing. Like we would get dressed up.
Yeah.
But it was also like a treat. Like we grew up simple. Like
Right.
I wouldn't like poor in retrospect, but not really. I don't know. To me, the definition of poor is just like what you make it, and we always felt rich. Like you know the way our family just treated us. But it was always like you get dressed up and you wear your best and you presentable, and it's like I don't know, it's cool. So for Easter, it was like a big one.
Yeah.
Certain holidays, it was like a big thing. Birthdays, we were all going out to eat.
Yeah.
Taz Steak was like one of our favorite restaurants.
Tad's.
Yeah.
Which it closed down.
Super
Like,
old back.
yeah. And Sizzlers, remember when
Sizzlers. I have several kid pictures inside of Sizzlers.
Yeah,
Oh my
that was like a
God.
big family like outing. Like we're going out. Sizzlers.
That
Oh my
was
God.
the spot.
Yeah.
Sizzlers. And then in the Bronx, Ponderosa was a spot. Did you ever go to?
I grew up in Brooklyn.
Oh,
I've heard of it though.
yeah, the Ponderosa. Damn. Sorry, it's not worth talking about if ain't nobody.
And
been
there was
there.
this other like restaurant in Brooklyn. It was like a fusion of like Chinese, kind of like a Flor de Mayo, but it was like our Brooklyn.
Ooh, the
own.
Brooklyn
What is it called?
version.
I can't remember because they ended up closing down. So I think they were half Cuban
Not
or
for
Latino.
okay.
And
Not
then
forgiveness steak, right? Okay.
Mm-mm. It was right off of Myrtle Wyckoff
Okay.
in
Myrtle
Bushwick.
Wyckoff. I got an ex around there.
Oh my god. But yeah, going
And
out
your
to eat. It was like getting dressed. It was like fun. We looked forward to it. It was like family.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. What
Yeah.
about y'all?
I would say the same. Like my dad was really into like going out to dinner, and I felt like every time we went out, there was like a new place. It was like exciting. Me and my sister were also like in dance heavy, so we always had like dance performances and things like that. And we knew after every dance performance there would be a dinner. Like we would go out and we get to dress up and kind of do that.
Yes.
Easter, like there was
Right.
always these times, but there was always like when you're going out like to eat, you're like, ooh, what am I gonna eat today? Like mommy don't gotta cook, you know, you hype.
Yeah, something different aside from the Spanish
It's like,
food.
even if it was buffet.
Mind you, now I'm begging my grandmother to cook the things I didn't want when I was growing up.
Right,
Like,
right.
arrocito, right?
Yeah, it's like I was saying before. You watch TV shows and you see this like big spread with the stack of pancakes and this like
Yeah.
everything, the orange juice and the milk next to each other in pictures and shit. Like, and I would always want that food. And my mom used to have this beautiful like mango spread. Like my mom would feed us, but in my head I'm like, oh no, that's like our food.
That's
I
regular.
want that food. That's regular. So
Right.
even McDonald's, low key, like even when we would go to McDonald's, because my mom was that mom that was like, nah, we not even eating fast food because I cook every single day. You better believe, like you know.
Yeah.
So even chicken nuggets and French fries, I'd be mad hyped to eat.
It was
some
like a
fucking chicken
treat.
nuggets and French
Yeah,
fries.
something different.
Absolutely. All right, and now we're moving into our cheers to the ladies who section where we shout out dope people doing dope shit. So female entrepreneurs in 2019, we did the damn thing. So I want to read a couple of stats for you guys. So there are 114% more women entrepreneurs than there were 20 years ago, which I would include this in that number.
Yes.
Because even though Bronche ain't LLC yet, whatever, we are working towards that. That is where we're going to be soon. 40% of U.S. businesses are women owned. So it's not half, but it's a number that's climbing. And in that number of climbing of that 40%, 64% of those women were women of color who were starting businesses in 2019. So we are out here as the majority within this minority number. And then Latina-owned women businesses grew more than 87% in 2019. And private tech companies that are led by women achieve a 30% higher ROI than tech startups ran by men. So
We know what we're doing.
just saying, for those people who question female leadership, clearly we doing something right because this is all.
Yes.
So I think what really impressed me is that this is all happening despite the fact that women only receive 7% of venture capitalists funds for their startups compared to men who are getting 93%. And then overall, men average a loan size that's around $44K. And when women apply to loans, the average is about $39K. So we're looking at about a $5,000 discrepancy there, which again just reminds me of like even the wage gap, right? Some people are like, oh, it's really like, 75 cents to the dollar, but that's not really that much more. But it's more.
No, yeah.
And that's the point. It doesn't,
Significantly more.
like it doesn't matter past that. It could be 5 cents more, but it's like why you get extra 5 cents? It don't make sense.
And
Right.
I personally, like, maybe it's just because I am not, like, well versed in economics or whatever, but I just have never understood who decided that. Like,
Men. Men. Yeah.
and then why has it not changed?
The institution
Men.
Like, now,
is not dismantled.
like, it just doesn't, I don't
Yeah.
understand that.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's interesting because like even in my role at WeWork, like I'd say that the company is a company that works really hard to be progressive, but still low key like. I can't say too much because I'm under NDA with the company, but I will say that even a company that is fighting to be conscious still struggles with those things.
And I can attest to that.
Yes. And so tell us a little bit about your sort of experience in this sort of navigating the corporate world, non-corporate girls, when it comes to, women not having equality and equity in the work that they're doing.
I mean, that's such a loaded question. I mean, I feel, it is, right? It's like even, and we've talked about this a lot, like even in companies that are progressive and even in people who are able to find that balance with understanding the company and their goals and what they're trying to do and still being like a person of color or a woman or whatever, there's still a disconnect there, So it's like, how do you bridge the gap? And I really don't know what the answer is there because, and even I work for a very right, progressive company, that there's still a lot of work to be done. And I think that part of it starts with, or at least something that we try to do in our companies, is to be the example in the best way that we can. But, and that there's layers to that too, right? Because depending on your role, depending on who you are, the vision, I mean, we can only change but so much in our little box that we're in. But I think for me, it's really just like being able to speak out on things like that and voice my opinion. And even now, like, knowing that I need a raise or knowing what my value is and putting it out there, whether they listen or not.
Yeah. It's the other battle.
Yeah, I think about, like, when you try to implement these changes and speak out, like, when will it not be at the expense of?
Yeah.
Right? Like, I want to speak out, but I need my job.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, like, I try to put myself in the positions of people that I feel like if I was them, I would do this. And I was there, I would do that. Because I feel like some of them do want to do these, like, make these decisions, but I feel like there's somewhat of a chokehold. So it's like you have to leverage accordingly. And you got to play the game, be strategic, so then you can leverage the playing field. But once you get to a certain role.
Right.
So you got to be smart about it, which just sucks because it's just like, it is a game.
Yeah, it's definitely, like, I think oftentimes about, like, what it means to be a trailblazer. And, like, certainly 2019 was not the first generation of, like, women entrepreneurs who were out here doing it. But the fact that the numbers, even in their not, like, they're high percentages, but I would even argue, even in being low percentages compared to what one would hope these percentages are, like, you can't help but celebrate it in a time where even our government structures and the people who are running them, who are now, I mean, we see Bloomberg is running, Trump is in office. There's a lot of rich people, who even Betsy DeVos, like people who are just in government because they have money. And I only bring that up to say that what excites me about this idea of female entrepreneurs being on the forefront, and that the leading numbers are coming from people of color and not just, you know, white women, is this idea that we fail to have these examples. We fail to have the people, like, everybody always wants Oprah to run for office because Oprah is one of the few black women billionaires that we have that we can be like, oh, well, if anybody has campaign money, like, there it is right there. And like, you know, Beyonce, I don't think is equipped for office, you know, love you, but like, you know what I mean? But like a lot of the people who have the funds are entertainers and not people who are in industries that are going to create that example. And so I feel like in 2019, the surge really came from this urgency around living in a Trump America, saying, hey, we need to build for ourselves, because the only way I'm going to have real equity, and if my babies are going to become trust fund babies, that starts with business, essentially. It doesn't start by working for other people.
It starts with real estate.
Yeah, and girl, talk about it.
Like, are we passing down properties? Because I'm not just yet.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's a problem.
Right.
It's the generational wealth.
And it's so interesting because a lot of times, like, when I talk about, like, oh, well, we don't have examples, I can't say as a Dominican woman that I haven't had example of that, like, oh, we're passing real estate. The problem is that I've always failed to see the value in my parents saying, oh, we have a plot of land in DR. Like, it might not have a house built or anything like that, but there's land there. And I would always remember, like, every time we'd go to DR, they'd, like, make time to go down to La Capital and go to these, like, offices to get, like, títulos and shit like that. And the deeds and all that shit. And I'd always be like, oh, this is so fucking boring. Like, we're in DR, let's go to a beach.
And they were trying to solidify your future.
And here, literally solidifying my future. You know, and here in the South Bronx, here we're all poor, broke, and living off government assistance. And I'm like, why we got empty land? Like, what value does that have? But now I only wish that they had a playing field where they could be doing that here. And so, like, myself and my siblings were very much like, oh, okay, so we got to get our money up because we gonna have to buy some shit. Because real estate is one way, but owning businesses also.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, like, another thing that's really exciting about, like, this stat is the fact that these women entrepreneurs are flourishing, but not just in one thing, right? They're owning businesses in so many different industries. They're creating new industries that some of us have never heard of. They're literally paving lanes. And I think that's important, because when you look at Oprah, love Oprah, obviously, but Oprah made her money and one, like, she has evolved, but
like one of one for
but it's like people are literally creating things that you're kind of like, wow, like, this is actually a business.
Right.
And that's why I don't get mad at the millennial, because I feel like I fall into that cuz, but I live life without internet, so I know both worlds. But for those that are like strictly internet digital age, like I don't even fault them for wanting more, because they gotta peak to what more can do for you, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, why be mad that they want to strive for that, and they'll go by any means to get what they deserve.
Right, and then I think the other piece of this, and I don't have the numbers for this, but in the same article, it talked about how some of these businesses, though, are failing at a faster rate. And so we're creating things, but they're failing. But then the factors of failures are, oh, well, who's supporting them? What are these loans? Like, and more so, there is this myth, and I know that numbers say different, but I'm telling you it's a myth, that people of color don't support businesses of color. And I actually think that the real issue is businesses of color sometimes lack the visibility and credibility, not because they don't have it, but people don't know who to trust. So if it's just the community saying, oh yeah, they're good, sometimes that's not enough. You know what I mean? Especially
you need that one cosign from out of the community.
There's something about mixed cultures where we look at the white ideal and say, if it is not out of the quality of this white company, then that means it's not the same thing, and it's some sort of bootleg version. So we can go, I think of Harlem a lot because Harlem is going through gentrification, but there are certain businesses and restaurants that are Black and Latinx owned, but people are like, $20 for this? Oh no, blah, blah, blah. But throw them somewhere downtown where they think they're a little bougie, or put them in Williamsburg, and they'll pay hipster dollar for something that's not as good quality as that Black business in Harlem, right? And so I think it's really important that, you know, as much as we celebrate these numbers for just being, that we take it a step further and support these women in their businesses.
So 2 things to add to that. One, what was my thought? Yes, I agree with you completely. And there are a lot of people that want to support their community and these businesses. But the other thing is that some of these businesses don't know how to be a business. And that's something else. And I know you used the restaurant example, but I'm just using someone that like makes hair care products or something like that. Like if you don't have good customer service, there are so many other factors to having a business that if you don't have that and I can get it from somewhere else, I'm probably going to go somewhere else because that's not what I'm trying to deal with.
Yeah, like I want us not to be, because we are people of color, just to support when it's not a valuable. Like I want you to be great. So it's like if we're offering feedback or telling you ways to be better, it's because we want you to excel. Because while you were saying those stats, in the back of my mind, I was like, but how many of them get past 3 years in existence? You know what I mean? So it's like, it kind of sucks. Like we're starting, but is there sustainability?
And the other thing to add to that is resources. A lot of people who are entrepreneurs who are people of color don't have the resources that they need for a lot of different reasons, which is why they're not sustaining themselves and they don't know what that looks like.
Again, going back to those examples, like what are examples of tons of, like I can't be like, oh, in this, you know, community in the Bronx, all of these super successful businesses, and like there are businesses, and like you know, growing up here in New York City, you do see a lot of businesses that are minority owned, not necessarily women, but minority, or I'm saying minority today, minorities in general, but like that. Those are the bodegas. Those are the, for me, or at least for me growing up, the saloncitos that are like holes in the wall. Like, you know what I mean? And everything has a hole in the wall. I feel like sometimes even the restaurants, they always say if the Caribbean restaurant looks, the more fucked up it is, the better the food is. Like, I believe that, but like the business looks fucked up. And so when it's time for my birthday, instead of going to that mom and pop shop where I know the oxtail's hitting, I'm going to go all the way downtown and go to Negril or something like that. I'm not saying, right. And I'm not saying the grills.
Right. That's not what we're
But
saying.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. Don't spit in my food. I'm just saying though, like, but if there is something of a better quality or something that's close to home that you enjoy more, you're still gonna sacrifice that enjoy for that Instapic and the atmosphere that we pay for. So how do we get businesses to this point? I mean, it's almost like I'm saying that question. I know we don't have the answers, but like, how do we get our businesses to this point?
Yeah, it's about educating them, because I had a first-hand experience of doing PR for a nail salon, and it was one of those things where you see more for the business than the business sees for themselves. Because sometimes, back to the community service point, is like, if you're not operating of this, and I don't want to say status because everything doesn't have to be this posh, grand door. Like, you know, it doesn't have to be all that. But there's simple things with like aligning in uniforms, how you greet your customers when they come in, that POS transaction when you're checking them out, like all those touch points have to matter and add value.
Yes.
Because if not, it's just like, what am I doing here?
Right.
Yeah, and get rid of this, oh, well, what they get is what they gonna get.
Yes. So like, I don't need you.
So you don't want your business to succeed.
Right.
So there's a part, and I feel like it's deeply rooted into something else that is systematic for our behavior. Like it goes further back, but where to start unpacking that and start like tearing down that wall. Like we need to start somewhere.
Absolutely.
Well, I hope that all these ladies are successful.
Yes,
and
I wish
wish
them the
them
best.
success.
Yes.
And
Because we here to support them.
I wish us success too, and our fucking.
Yeah.
We gonna be out here because we be
Real
thinking about
shit.
them touch points. You seen all those snacks out there?
We was munching and
Self-esteem.
Get yourself a team.
I think
That
that's the
was
punchline at the end of it.
hilarious.
Like all these like entrepreneurs out here, if you are trying to start businesses and you're trying to be successful, let's support each other and make sure you have your team. There's always people who will like see what you're providing and like wanna
Help
have a
to,
hand in it.
yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Oh, can I have some? Alright, so now we're gonna go into our Tuta Loca S where we call motherfuckers out for doing the most. And Forbes just released an article where they said that student loan debt has reached an all-time high of 1.6 trillion.
Jesus.
Like, how many
crazy.
zeros is that?
Jesus.
I don't even know.
Yeah, I was literally about to say, how many zeros is that?
Like, we're talking about student loan debt is higher than automobile loans
Jesus.
and higher than credit debt. And the only thing that's higher is mortgage debt.
Wow.
Like, you're
It's
literally
crazy.
putting yourself in a hole to pay for an expensive ass piece of paper. And my whole thing is like, is it worth it? Like, we were fed this plate that said, in order to get your dreams, you need to do this.
Right.
You need to do elementary school. I did pre-K. My mom had me in pre-K.
I did pre-K
I
too.
did
I went
pre-K.
straight to first grade.
So did
Okay.
I.
Okay, smart
Yeah.
girls.
Yeah.
All right, smart girls.
Um,
I need my little pre-K.
yeah, I
rep.
needed my
All
pre-K.
right.
I was like, do they do nap time in pre-K? What do they do in pre-K?
Well,
I needed my little pre-K. I didn't experience that time. Like,
That's
it
what
was
they do nap time in pre-K,
They do
right?
it.
like
kindergarten.
nap time, letters,
Yeah.
Color,
my-
numbers.
So funny, my mom is still friends with my pre-K teacher.
Wow.
And like she
I'm
had
done.
me reading by the time I was like out of pre-K. Like
Damn.
I
See,
was
that's
doing all
why
that.
your mom is a
Yeah.
principal type shit. Cause
yeah,
my mom,
was a
nah.
principal, so it was kind of cheating. But like, and I was talking to my friend the other day who just got a fellowship in marketing, right? And he has only gone to undergrad, is Gerard.
Mhm.
And I was talking to him because I naturally in our conversation I was like, "Oh, do you think you'll go back to school for marketing?" And then he was like, "Well, I'm already gonna be working and being paid for marketing. So is it worth it to have that title? Is it worth it
Right.
to have that degree now if you're already able to go into the field and just have your experience?" Another example, my friend Jessica has a brother who is super smart, was in MIT, but now has left to move to California because the company that he's working for, that he was going to school studying for, whatever
Like to
he was
get that
doing,
job.
to
Yeah.
get that job,
They want him.
flew him out, got him a car, got him an apartment.
Shit.
I mean,
what line of
my-
work
He's
is that?
working with like Facebook or some shit, you know?
Yeah.
And so now it's one of those things where like he dropped out after a semester of college to go literally do what he was studying to get a degree to do.
Was it coding by any chance? I'm
Yeah,
curious.
something
It was
with
tech.
Because
tech.
Yeah.
I was gonna say.
I mean, look at Zuckerberg.
Yes.
He didn't finish school. He's like the
Yes.
prime example and build a 10-year career. I feel like if you have a plan and you know what you're gonna do, because education is necessary for some.
Right.
I don't feel it's necessary for all. Not everybody needs a degree, but it is a safety net for those who are really not too sure. But in retrospect, I say like tread lightly, because if it's something you're unsure of, don't go into debt
Right,
over
for
something you're
that.
unsure. Like, you know what I mean? So it's really a personal choice and a conversation and realistic like point of view that you have to have in making that choice. I don't think it should be shoved upon you.
Right.
To be like going to school because it's gonna get you here, because nothing is guaranteed.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And I remember when we were in school, I was like I said, my mom was a principal, so I was in all the after school programs. I never had any time to be outside in the street.
Me too. I made that life.
But like I was in part of like college and high school bound programs and stuff like that. And what I was being taught in these programs was, oh, the dropout rate for a Latino man is the highest, so you have to at least graduate college. Like,
Right.
Like I'm the not the statistic, but like I could be the statistic.
Yeah,
so
but I
like,
could be the statistic. So that was my mentality. And so then I
I'm gonna
ended up
beat
going
it.
to college for something that I didn't really like.
What do you go to school for?
I went for music education, which obviously I love music and I love children, but it wasn't where my heart was at.
Mm-hmm.
It got me a job though,
Right.
like, and consistency. But so like I feel like there were pros to my journey, but then at the same time, there are times where I'm kind of like, you know, we're also stuck in this. We're also this generation that's stuck between like this generation that was like taught that you have to work hard and
Yeah.
for everything that you get,
Or
but
that you're
the
gonna stay
generation-
in the same job until you die, like.
And then the
almost.
generation under us is just the generation that's in the right place at the right time.
Right.
Mm.
Right. Insta
That's so-
success. And not
so-
literally Instagram, but I literally mean it's like that. Like,
Insta,
But
yeah.
culturally, I feel like a lot of this is culturally, like, we're told to do these things that is like, this is what it is, and if you outside of that, like, you won't be successful.
Yeah,
you know?
that's what I was gonna say. Like, I agree with everything you guys are saying. It's just one of those things where it's like, because we're that generation that falls on this borderline, we look at our parents who are all about security, and they
Yes.
came, you know, a lot of us are first generation, right? So they knew that if you went to college, it was gonna get you X, Y, and Z.
Right.
Then you get to college, and you're kind of like, these people don't really know anything, and life is way different than what this is.
Yes.
But we're in this box. This is what it is. Then you get out of college, and you're like, I can't get a job. I'm not getting a job in my field. I don't even want to do this, so what's next for me? Then you have this other generation who's like, oh, at 12, I know what I want to do, and I can create this.
Right.
And it's like, by the time they get to college, they don't really need to go, because they've already
Right.
created a whole company
Right.
that's what they want to do. So it's like, where do we fit on the spectrum? And I think
Right.
that's one thing. And then I think the second thing is, to your point, college is not a one-size-fits-all like life.
Absolutely.
And I think that there are trade schools. I think that you don't have to go to college. I think that you need to have a plan.
Right.
Because if you don't have a plan,
Yes.
you don't know what you're striving for.
Absolutely.
And speaking of the culture, because I have forgotten my thought, but now I remember, is that we also of that generation where like when it's something aspirational, is not supported. You know, if you're not like these
Yes.
set in stone type of roles, is like you're not gonna become anything. Rather than giving you that confidence, because I feel like part of that is confidence. So it's
Yes.
like if I go this artistic route, for lack of better words, like I'm not gonna be as competitive as my peer that
Right.
becomes a doctor, lawyer, and you know those cookie cutter jobs.
Yes.
Which I think we need doctors, lawyers, and all of those things. But those jobs specifically come with a plan of
Yeah.
like where you go the next step.
Exactly.
Things like creative, like we're still molding what our future looks like right now in this second.
Yep.
Yeah. And like the schooling system, the DOE is such like I don't want to say it's a BS thing, but like the idea that like we as a teacher and knowing other co-working teachers know when school's not for a student.
Yes. Yes,
and
we do.
You know what? I'll be the one to say the DOE is BS, because you cannot tell me that there is a one standardized way to teach
Yeah.
people with various learning styles.
Yeah.
Right.
That's already you coming in with a deficit
Yeah.
of how these
Like they're
people
setting you up for
capture.
failure.
Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
so unfair. It's like I can't even like. It's just so unfair. It's so unfair.
Yeah, I think the only thing I have to add to that is that I've been on this kick about, you know, people really centering themselves and self-love and intuition and following your gut. I really think that, first of all, school is something you can enter at any time. I grew up being a junior in high school, and when I was a junior in high school, my father was getting his bachelor's degree. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was very powerful. And granted, like, and this is someone who, you know, who sort of came to the States and didn't say, I want to do this in my life. And I have, like, my
Right.
father, you know, had several different jobs that, you know, to put food on the table type shit. But then he got into the DOE as a teacher assistant because he had an associate's prior. So, like, that was enough to get him through that door. But honestly, like, making, like, $38K. And, like, you're in the DOE and you have this role and you're dealing with these, like, he works at a special ed high school. And it's, like, this really intense job. But it only pays $38K. So eventually he was like, well, I guess I'm gonna have to do the thing, right? And get paid more, and went back to school. And I only say that to say, like, that doesn't mean that his journey up until that point wasn't correct. Like, it was absolutely correct for what he wanted in his life. But if school becomes a road, or not going to school rather, becomes a roadblock, then that can be the moment that you make the decision about going back or not. And it doesn't have to be this predetermined decision that one makes. And quite frankly, it bothers me the way in which people downplay trade schools, because I do think that coming from a community of people of color where we are very creative and sometimes we are very good. Like, listen, Dominican people are great with hair.
Right.
Barbers or salon ladies.
Mechanics.
I was able to see that my uncle owns a mechanic shop in Santiago that's super successful, and like bougie people go to him, right? And so he's running a bougie in a third world country, right? But like it's all about like he knew that that's what he wanted to do always, right? And so that was and he also doesn't. Loki, I don't think he has a high school diploma even. My uncle, and he's running a full blown business with European clients, Dominican clients,
and you can do anything you want. Like people, we stop ourselves from moving forward and overcoming these barriers because we think that you need the schooling. You don't.
Right. Absolutely. So I really think, make this decision when it needs to be made. But also, I do think that it's going back to institutionalism. It is the institutions that taught us that our black and brown boys and girls needed to go to school in order to have value added to their title, right? It was then that, like, that access and that surge of black and brown kids going to college. Because listen, back in the day in the 50s and stuff, like, we are always told about the civil rights movements, but we are not told about the ways in which black and brown people were thriving and succeeding, and the way in which, how do you organize a movement like that? A group of dumb people can't organize something like the civil rights movement, right? Like the movement in LA where the Latinx movement was like heavy, or even the oh my God, I'm blanking on the Boricua groups that was here alongside the Black Panthers, but like the Young Lords, thank you. Like those groups don't organize out of a place of lack of consciousness and understanding. We have the intelligence. It is just a matter of what standard we're trying to live up to. And so I think the answer is, well, what standard are you trying to live up to, and is it worth you going into debt for?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
just to add a caveat to that, grad school.
Okay.
Because I'm not touching it.
The biggest debate of my life.
Yeah. Really? I closed that debate for myself years ago. I was like, the answer is no. I'm not paying. I'm just not paying. If it's a free program and it's worth my time, I'm not paying. But it has to be worth my time in the way, as an artist, I'm tired of learning from white people. I kind of need to start learning from black and brown artists. And it's not that they don't exist. I'm just saying, am I getting into that program for free then? Because I'm not investing my dollar in that. I'm investing my dollar in that motherfucking logo right behind you. Like that's where my dollar is.
But and also people feeling like they have an undergraduate degree and they feel like they need to go to grad school for some type of special skill, or they need to take like people who go to school for marketing and things like that. And then someone who has an MBA, and so does she, it is not needed at all if there's no grander plan to that. You know what I mean? Like you can literally learn all these skills on your own. Yeah. You do not need to go to school unless like you're a lawyer, all that stuff.
Right. Like doctors, if you want to be a doctor, please.
But I want you to please go to school.
Thank you. And we know that the nurses do more.
Right. Nurses do more.
Nurses do more. Shout out to the nurses.
Like get all your schooling in there, but if you like a communications major, you were creative. Like, come on.
Absolutely. Even tech startups these days, like we said, like there's a lot of people who are starting shit. They're like, no, I have a genius idea and that's it. I'll hire the people. Give me the seed money and I'll hire the people that know how to do it. So, yeah, we'll see.
Ooh, this looks good. Oh my God, this is delicious. I definitely want to taste that.
All right, and now we're moved into our plate of the day. So, finding balance, a conversation around healthy work-life balance for people of color. So this is a conversation that I feel like is recurring, and it's super important because I don't think we've quite gotten the science down yet about how to, live our work lives, be successful, and not lose your job, but still keep your head on. I do think that a lot of that does have to do with companies that still haven't caught on to this concept of giving their employees the free will to practice their work-life balance. I consider myself very, very privileged in the company that I work for, that they allow me to do things like working from home, and like, oh, we're in every city, so if you're in a different city, you don't have to use vacation days, just work out of the WeWork. Like little things like that really make it easier for me to start achieving other things. But not everybody works in these places, and I think that while the institutions that we work at play a role in the lack of self-care, I think there's still generational curses, guys, that we have that are deeply ingrained in us that also stop us from taking the agency to demand the space to have that work-life balance, because we always feel that something is at risk. Naturally, we're people of color, so we feel pressure on our shoulders every day. But I'm a little curious. Can you tell me a little bit about what type of work etiquettes you guys were taught growing up from the generations before you?
Still to this day, my grandmother tells me when I'm about to take vacation, like, pero tu trabajo sabe, like your job knows. I'm like, I am allotted.
Right.
Like I'm not a workhorse.
But she thinks I am. She feels like as long as you're living, you should be working.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that doesn't even make sense. And this is why you have all these elements as an older person right now, right? So I just feel like it's just work, 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 and I don't understand where this concept of nobody, because growing up, I seen my family that were older have like a great lifestyle. So for that pressure to be put on us, I don't know exactly where it came from.
But it is stifling a little bit. Do you find yourself ever like hearing what they have to say and like thinking twice, like, oh shit, are they right?
No, never. I'm
Good.
actually
Oh,
the
good.
one who's educating them. Like
Good.
my mom
Good.
was working at her job for 18 years.
Wow.
And I'm the one like telling her, like, learn a new skill, like make yourself marketable. Like, don't rely on them to give you your next opportunity. Take it. So I'm very empowered, and like I'm not taking no BS from, like, if this is not fitting for me, I'm moving on. But whereas it's like, if it's not fitting, they want you to conform for it to fit.
Right,
And
right,
I'm not
right.
here for that. And
Right.
so, like, these are the arguments we constantly have, because they feel like I'm doing too much. And I'm like, no, I need more people to start taking these actions, because
Right.
it's about self-care.
Yes, absolutely. And I wonder if some of that comes from, I always like, in my constant fight with my family and stuff, like they tell me, oh, you go to school, you go to work dressed like you're going to school, like in high school. Like, why are you dressed like a high school student at your job? You're going to lose your job. And I'm like, if y'all saw all the motherfucking leadership here with their little T-shirts and they sneakers, you know what I mean?
It's just a different culture.
It's a different time. It's not even
It's-
cool. It's a different
it's-
time. And
yeah.
I just don't understand, because for my mom, she worked being behind a computer day in, day out. And there's sometimes she's struggling for how to do something on the internet. And I'm just like, to some degree, I feel like there's not accountability of like, I need to learn something so that I catch up with the times. They want to operate how they did 15 years ago in this space. And it's just like, you need to grow. Yeah. It doesn't work anymore. And they want it to work, or they don't understand like why I'm trying to change it around. Like,
Right.
the times have changed.
Yeah. No, that's a really valid point. What about you? What did you
Yeah.
hear growing up?
So I'm same thing. Our moms are very similar. Oh God, we talk about it all the time. We're like, my mom, she is 36 years at her job, and it was the first job she got when she came to this country. It's all she knows, whatever, right? But I will say, my mom, I am proud of her in the sense that she has moved around in her job, and she has learned a couple different things. But my mom's mentality is definitely workhorse. It's more like, it's like, taking vacation, what does that look like? And like not going to work when you at 9, you're supposed to be there, and like how are you dressing, and like and whatever. And anyone that knows me in my life knows I have issues with jobs. I've left every single job I've had at some point. I do not stay at jobs longer than 3 years. I don't even think I've stayed at the job 3 years. And I'm a creative, so I'm always freelancing, contracting. Like my mom was like, "What is that? Like, what is that going to ultimately mean for you?" And I'm like, it's going to ultimately mean whatever I want it to mean. You know, that's the type of life I'm living. My mom doesn't get it, though. My mom still thinks I'm crazy. She still doesn't understand my job. She doesn't understand the podcast. Like, she doesn't get it. But it's more about us being able to create the life we want, and I tell her all the time, as opposed to a life that I'm supposed to be born into and live in a box like she does. And it's fine for her because she's living her life. But like,
she's gonna have Social Security. I'm not.
She gonna have She living her life, and I'm proud of her for that because again, different code, different generation, right?
Like that's their success.
Yeah, like so wonderful. But now we're trying to make more than that. Like we're trying
and the
to
definition change. Like the playing field is so different. It's not even about it being even. It's like it's so much more ideas and what could come out of that was so limiting to them. So I just don't understand how they haven't been enlightened, you know, like to want to see all these things happening. And I mean, I'm sure some have, but I'm just speaking from like the point of view of what's around me, because I'm sure other people have made strides. But from my experiences, it's just like they kind of keep themselves in a box. I don't know if it's out of safety, and like
I
that
think
has
safety, security, stability, all of that.
Right. And then I think also in Skittles, I think maybe you can relate to this a little bit as having a really close relationship with your mom and having her advise even on career stuff, is that there's also this notion, and I think heavily for me being first generation Dominican, that if you fail, it is also the failure of your parents, and because you don't want your parents to feel like they have failed, especially when they're as supportive as Skittles moms, as my parents are, that then you feel that pressure. So you end up doing things like staying at a job longer than what you really wanted to. You know what I mean? You end up not taking that risk and, you know, making certain decisions because of that. Skittles, do you want to speak a little bit on that? Yeah.
I sure do.
And it was funny because I was telling y'all when you got here that I recently made my non-corporate girls move in terms of like that I made that drastic decision of leaving teaching and
Right.
like,
Use your non-corporate
pursuing my
girls
own.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
I wanna
Georgia.
thank the academy. No, so in August I quit my full-time teaching job, and there were a ton of things that went on at the school. A lot of shit went down, and I was kind of giving you guys the scope
Right.
in detail of
It was
what went
good.
down. And you asked me what was the you asked me
Yeah.
what was the final
Strong.
straw, because even though all that stuff happened up until June, I didn't quit my job until the last week of August.
Mhm.
And it was talking to my mom, because my mom had been the biggest cheerleader, supporter, but also putting on this kind of expectation of like, oh, you know, I want you to follow your dreams, but you can also have this consistent paycheck with this
Right.
time off and this, you know, these benefits and this and that, because I want you to have a paycheck and I want you to be consistent, but do your creative thing, but I want you to do this. And that was always kind of like my inner battle was
Right.
like, I felt like I could not leave because that's what she was telling me I needed to do, or that I could do. And you know, it wasn't until all that shit went down that I finally just had this conversation, and I've had been having the conversation with her so that she knew that it wasn't a new thought.
Right.
But finally, it was just a conversation where I literally said, I feel like I need to rip this Band-Aid off.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I need to quit, even though I don't have a backup job, even though I don't know what the fuck I'm going to be doing, even though this is the craziest and scariest decision I have ever made, and even though it's not what you want, and I'm not, like, the plan was to get tenure as a DOE teacher, leave, because when you get tenure, you can come back, you know? But, you know, shit happens, and that didn't happen, and I was at a point where I needed to leave.
Yeah.
And all of my friends were telling me I needed to leave. The universe was telling me I needed to leave. Like, and it wasn't until that conversation that I finally.
But see, that's
was
going back
able
to your
to-
question, that's self-care.
Right.
Like you
And
did what you did
that's-
for you.
So yes, exactly. And while you were talking about the differences in generations and how we have like this value, and you were saying how like companies don't value that.
Right.
First off, the DOE's not giving teachers shit. Like, people like to say, oh, well, you have weekends and you have the summer. That's not shit when it comes to dealing with 200 students and their parents.
Right.
Like, you know, so as a teacher, you gotta work that out. Yeah, are you gonna take that vacation, or are you gonna invest in like trying to save up for a home, or maybe going to grad school so you can make more money and stuff like that. So you get into that mindset and you're like, workhorse.
It's like a hamster wheel.
Right.
This idea that this idea that, and for some teachers, that works for them. They want to be
Right.
a teacher and it's satisfying and that. But for someone who didn't really want it in the beginning, it's hard. But then I quit the job, and 4 days later I had another job.
Right.
Boom. Because
Two
the
days-
universe
And guess
always
what? Two
provides.
days later, they had a new music teacher.
Right.
Just
So
like that,
life
you
went
get
on.
Like that.
Life went
And
on.
life went on. So,
Right.
and I feel like, I said all that to say, I feel like now at 29 years old, I'm learning the work-life balance and doing stuff for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Right.
what makes you happy? What do
And
you
doing stuff for
enjoy?
what makes you happy.
Right. So what are some of your best practices, ladies, that keeps you sane while working in these environments?
Well, I first want to say that it is a work in progress.
Yes.
This balance, right? This work-life balance. I think that sometimes you're successful at it and it's going well. I think sometimes you mess up and, you got to keep trying to find your rhythm. And it also depends on everything happening in your life.
Right.
Jobs, etc. For me, I struggle a lot because I go through this, I have my ups and I have my downs. But I think for me, I have to stay grounded, and some things I do are like obviously meditation, which is really helpful, but really just breathing, because I realize that my anxiety, which is weird, like my anxiety has increased since I've gotten older, which is weird. Since I gotten older and became an entrepreneur, it's like weird. So I have all this anxiety, and I just have to breathe sometimes because it helps keep me grounded, but also just knowing who I am and knowing what I'm looking for, especially working in jobs or fields that may not be our end all be all, and we know that there's something else happening. Just it's constantly keeping each other motivated and accountable for that is really helpful. And just with friends and family and whoever, just having that support system, because it gets hard not to be bogged down with the day-to-day of life. You know what I mean? So it's like, even though you're like, I meditate, do yoga, whatever.
Right.
Sometimes that don't work.
No, it's true. And it's all about the intention you put behind it, because the spiritual reader who I follow, her name is Vida. Like, Vida always talks about, certain things are just tools. But, what is a knife until you pick it up and stab someone, right? It's just a thing that lays there. So, a yoga class is just a yoga class if you're just taking it, but you're not really focusing. Meditation is just meditation if you're just sitting through it, but you're not really focusing in during that meditation and setting intention. So to say you did those things because commercially they sound like the right things to do aren't self-care. And I'm so glad you said that, because that was the point I was going to come to, is that self-care looks different for everyone. And sometimes meditation is I truly believe my mom's meditation is when she could turn on her church music and start cleaning. And I know cleaning itself is an act, but because for her it is something she does enjoy doing, and she's thinking and she's singing and she's just releasing in that moment, and it's just her and her mop and her music during that time. That is her meditation. For some people, some guys, it's video games. I've come to terms with all the boys I've dealt with in my life. I've come to terms with the fact that sometimes when they are sitting in front of that screen, they're not just ignoring me for 2K. They are really that is their moment of just
to not think of anything that's real life
and just to release. And even when, and a lot of people are like, oh yeah, my self-care is my creative work, but there's work. The word work is involved in that. And so be conscious how much of it is actual meditation and how much of it is actual work. And do you need to add an additional hour of your day, or maybe just 3 hours a week, right, where you're literally committing back to yourself? Delilah, what are some of your self-care?
Being present. It doesn't matter what happened yesterday, I cannot do nothing. And when I walk out of here, I don't have control. I only can control that I'm gonna grab this cup, take a sip, I'm responding to you, I'm looking at you, I'm listening, I'm here. Whatever was my issue or problems that I have to deal with, I have to deal with it after this moment.
Right.
So trying to be here kind of puts you at a check, because it reminds you you cannot do anything but what you're doing right now.
Right. Yeah.
So that kind of helps a lot. When you feel that chaoticness is all right, what is that chaos really helping to solve?
Yeah.
Because you can't do anything, right?
Right.
And then another thing is just being in peace, with my own thoughts and not having distraction. I like being alone. I really like being alone. It could be in pure silence or just background whatever sound, but just chilling
with yourself.
That recharge.
That
So
recharge. Even if it's a
important.
good nap, just not having to answer, don't look at my phone, I don't deal with anything.
Netflix and chill.
Yes, Netflix and chill.
Especially when you're into what we're doing and you have a presence on social media, just being able to
I'm an ambivert. I love being social, but then I notice that it's too much and I need to back up, because I don't want to engage anymore. I don't want to.
What was that term you used?
Ambivert.
I've never heard that before.
I've heard it before. It's when you're an extrovert to a point, and an introvert.
Exactly.
Wow, that's thank you for teaching me that, because so when you take those personality tests, I often switch from ENFJ an INFJ. Like depending on when I take the quiz, it could be either or. And even like in social situations, like even when we were celebrating Skittles' birthday yesterday, I did have something to do, but like there was just a moment where I like literally got smacked, and I was like, oh my god, I have to retreat. Right, like now I have to retreat. You know what I mean? And it just like hits you, and it's not about anything going on, and it is just like internally my emotions go. And they pull me out.
Especially when like if you're hosting like family or friends.
Oh, that happens very quickly.
That point where you need everyone out of the house.
Oh my god!
And it's a moment. Like it's a moment. Like when I'm ready, everyone gotta go.
Yes.
Like,
and this is why I can only bring certain people into that space, because if you know me, you know when that moment
right.
is.
And
I don't have to make it weird or awkward.
Like my cousins are always like, well, Yanni's checked out, so it's time for us to go. It's time for us to go.
So it doesn't come off as rude. I mean, like, of course, as we get to know each other, you start realizing when those moments are. But yeah, like, it's like there's a threshold.
There is a threshold.
Even in college, I was like that with my dorm. Like, because I was lucky that my last 2 years.
I didn't want the parties happening in my room.
No, that was my back cave.
Right.
You know,
like you want to be able to go somewhere and leave.
Yes.
Which is my favorite thing to do. That's my favorite thing to do.
The exit.
Queen. I'm like, I got 3 hours in me. Then I'm out.
I'm going to the bathroom.
And I'll be the life of the party for those 3 hours.
Oh yeah, total social butterfly.
But when I'm gone,
it
I'm
has
gone.
a cutoff.
Literally.
That's when Juan comes out.
Right.
Everybody knows Skittles, but Juan is my
alter ego.
Yeah.
Close in.
My plaid.
And usually that's when the party's over, right? Because everybody's on our energy, so they soaking it all up, right?
Exactly.
And so when we leave, it's like, all right, whose energy is taking it on
Right.
next?
Somebody else.
Y'all was sucking me dry.
Somebody else in. Absolutely. So I want to end with one piece of advice that you guys have for somebody who is currently struggling with their work-life balance and abandoning the deeply rooted things that they've been taught that are sort of keeping them within their cycles.
Be honest with yourself, like what it is that you need. Like sometimes you literally have to verbalize what is it you need, because people don't know that you need that. People want things when they want things, and they assume that you could get it done because this is the behavior and pattern you've shown always, right? But you need to voice that, like, you know what, I can't do this. Know how to manage your time better, because if like you need an extension on whatever, you can voice that. It's all literally communication,
right?
Of when you need to like take a step back and when you can be on go mode.
Absolutely.
You're so awesome. To echo that,
Love a good echo.
Be kind to yourself. I feel like when we talk about self-care, and I'm guilty of this heavy, we often break ourselves down. You know, it's like, damn, I didn't get to do this today, or I should have done that, or maybe I should have fell back, or whatever. Be kind to yourself. Every day is a work in progress. Every day is a new day. Pick it up tomorrow. Like, you may not, you know, you didn't get to do XYZ today. It's okay. Tomorrow's a new day. You get to try again and be better tomorrow.
Yes.
That's it. But be kind to yourself, because breaking yourself down is also not going to solve the problem.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Skittles.
And people don't even I was just gonna say, people don't even remember. Like, I know one weekend before I was supposed to finish something and I didn't, and the whole weekend I was like scared for Monday to come because I didn't finish something. And all I did on Monday was like, I need more time. And I didn't need to do that to myself during the weekend.
Right, they were like
you tortured yourself.
Yeah, like, oh my God, I didn't finish it. So it's just like, don't do that. I learned.
I think what I would say, and like I said, I'm still learning, is to be open to trying new tools.
I like that.
I have been trying to work out more, and I realized that I like a certain type of workout, but like talking myself into it is like the big hurdle. So then I decided, okay, fuck it, I'm gonna try a class. And then I went to the class, and I didn't like the class per se, but the studio was great, and I'm open to trying the other classes at the studio. And I was if I wasn't open, so just be open.
Yeah,
I like
openness. And I think sort of to add on to everything that you guys have all said, it's really just a matter of like patience.
Yeah.
Patience with yourself, patience with listening to yourself. Even I think that's my biggest hurdle that I'm still growing from, is like my instincts will tell me when I need to slow down, and I ignore, because I'm like, no, I need to get to that end goal yesterday. So if I rest right now, then I'm fucked. So I can't rest, right? So rather than the tortoise in the hare, like if the tortoise in the hare was a real story, I'd be the one. I wouldn't sleep
Burnt
at the
out.
tree. I would have run to the beginning of the race and then been like, oh, I got time to do 3 more races. And rather, I never like have the patience to like chill. I need to grow more and more and more and more. And I'm not kind to myself. I am not kind to
And not
myself.
enjoying the journey.
Not enjoying the journey. Not enjoying the journey. But it is so, and that's my advice, because it's what I am currently struggling with, is that patience. Like, yo, just relax, is gonna happen. Let go and let the universe, or like God, or whatever you believe in. And it's really knowing that. Also, like, I really don't have patience for white people these days.
Girl.
So that is like, that for me also is a whole practice of like, well, have patience with the fact, like, I've already decided that this white space is a space I want to be in, and I think I deserve to be in. So like, but also be patient with yourself, and like, if you know that you're in a very white space that doesn't work for you, then have the patience for the time it takes to find another step for you that isn't just rushing out of the current job, but that makes sense for you transitionally, whether it is quitting your job and doing art, or just quitting to go to another like same type of company. But like, be patient with yourself, but also be honest with yourself, be kind to yourself, and be open with yourself.
And don't feel like you have to take on anyone's anything, because
Yes.
it's not your responsibility. That's their
Absolutely.
problem.
Absolutely.
And if you not feeling the white people in the moment, that's okay too.
That's okay. Yeah.
Y'all all just got so many gems. You're welcome.
All right. Thank you, ladies, so much for being on. So tell us, where can we find you? Any shout outs you guys have?
Yes, follow us on Non-Corporate Girls. Subscribe to our newsletter.
Yes,
Visit our
newsletter.
website, www.noncorporategirls.com. You can follow me at Miss Delilah C.
You can follow me at @the_Aya_brand, and check out our podcast on all streaming platforms.
Absolutely.
Oh, and our merch is dropping soon. So
Oh, we
That little plug right there.
Yes. Skittles, where can they find us?
Well, you guys can find us at Ladies Who Brunch on Instagram, at Ladies Brunch on Twitter, at Ladies Who Brunch on YouTube, and on all your favorite streaming platforms.
Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. And until next time, bronche.